Thanks for staying with ENCA now this afternoon. We continue our coverage of that all-important testimony coming out of Angelo Agrizzi. It's his fourth day in that witness stand, and today he's been providing details on how exactly certain ministers, government officials, especially at the Department of Correctional Services, benefited from the bribes and the monopoly money, as we've heard it described, distributed by Bosasa. And he also said that the organization used to organize functions and would also provide catering. This was specifically for the ANC's Siyanqoba rallies, and this would have been at Mokonyane's request.
There were numerous catering for rallies on instruction. For instance, the election campaign was run from the offices. We had to arrange all of that. We had to arrange the parties and the conferences at our offices.
Rallies, which rallies are you referring to?
There were numerous rallies. There was rallies where we'd have to cater up to 40,000, 50,000 people.
For whom?
For the ruling party, Chair.
And then you refer to catering?
Before you deal with that, would the rallies be at stadia or would they be in halls, more or less most of the time?
These were the Siyanqoba rallies.
Or Siyanqoba rallies?
Correct.
Which would normally be at stadia?
Normally.
Okay.
Chair, we'd get ridiculous requests in the middle of the night saying that we needed to sort out birthday party cakes, cater for supporters, 10,000 at a time, so we'd have to just do it.
Our ENCA's Xoli Mgambi is at the inquiry for us today. Let's take you live to him now. Xoli, good afternoon. Certainly, we had anticipated the kind of detail that was going to come out of today, especially based on those Sunday weekend reports. But I think the extent to which Agrizzi is unpacking it all would certainly have been unexpected.
Well, indeed, Kathy, as the weekend newspapers carried some of the testimony that is now coming out of the witness, Angelo Agrizzi, it's clear that they were spot on. However, the commission chairperson opening this commission today by stating that he wanted to say a few remarks about the quote-unquote conduct of certain journalists or newspapers that carried these stories. Remember the rules that the media is not allowed to publicize the information before it is orally given here at this testimony. But it does appear that this weekend the media decided to ignore those rules. So the commission chairperson reserving that because he said that there are time constraints because we started late today as well. But Kathy, let's quickly get into some of the detail that came out today, and let's not waste any time because I have two guests with me. I have the DA's spokesperson on state capture, that's Natasha Mazzone, and of course we have the ANC's acting spokesperson, national spokesperson, Zizi Godwa. Let me start with you, Natasha. Just listening to what is coming out, and of course, based on what we saw at the weekend in those newspaper reports, does it surprise you that a name of a sitting cabinet minister has indeed emerged as the papers anticipated?
Unfortunately not. It doesn't surprise me. We know that we have sitting cabinet ministers who are implicitly involved in state capture. We know that at a time when President Ramaphosa could have cleaned the cabinet up, he didn't. There are ministers who are compromised that shouldn't be sitting in cabinets at the moment. And I think what surprised me the most today was the level of detail with which the witness was able to go into regarding houses, regarding meeting places. And I think that it's time for the ANC to take very serious stock of who they have as sitting ministers and people representing South Africans in Parliament in South Africa.
Natasha, you're standing to the ANC's spokesperson.
Yes.
And on Friday, he went on record saying the party is not on trial here. Whoever is mentioned here would have done what they did in their individual capacities, and therefore they should respond in that fashion. Do you accept that as, you know, people who sit in the opposition benches in Parliament, given that this is a party in government?
Unfortunately, I don't think you can separate the two. When you're a minister, you represent the party. We don't have a constitutional-based democracy where you can stand as an individual. You stand for a party and you represent that party. So therefore, if you're a minister accepting bribes, your party is then complicit in your actions. So I don't accept the statement that the individual is separate from the party. I think there's a collective responsibility that needs to be taken. And certainly when that individual is caught out and it's brought to the party's attention, that party must take action immediately.
Zizigota, let's bring you in. Individual capacity statement that individuals who are implicated in this commission have got to respond individually, but the party certainly cannot be dragged into this. How do you respond to Natasha, who says the party is on trial here?
What profoundly explains is that is the confusion within the TA, the separation between the party and the state. The African National Congress will make that line very clear. That's why not only in this instance, in many other instances, we draw a line between. That's why even when we talked earlier about issues of deployment, let me make you an example. The ANC could come with a name, but that name must still be appointed by relevant authorities within the state, because we draw a line between the party and the state. We are very clear about some of the allegations that are coming out. We are happy that the truth is coming out, but to an extent that is the truth, we want to respect the authority and integrity of this commission. So we don't want to jump already on the basis of what we agree with the judge that is concerning what happened yesterday, because it does undermine by certain media houses the authority and integrity of this commission, that it's actually prejudicial that a number of names were reported, lists were generated. It does undermine. We agree with the judge. We hope the media will have a lesson from the remarks of the opening remarks of the judge. But we must accept that those who would have done anything wrong, they must come here, they must approach, either to collaborate or collaborate the information. If there's only one version presented, without any alternative version, the commission will assume that there's only one version. We will encourage those implicated, whether it be the ministers, some of the actions and allegations, implications that are made here, they do not do them on behalf of the ANC. When the ANC is implicated as an organization, as we did before, we came here with the Secretary General at the time, Natasha, to explain what was allegedly be an issue of the organization.
Zizi, I just want to interject on the one point you're making, that when these individuals did whatever they allegedly did, they didn't do it on behalf of the party. We're hearing here that Minister Nomvula Mokonyane, back at the time when she was MEC of Safety and Security, she called on Bosasa to cater for party organizational issues or party organizational events and Siangoba rallies. So how in the world does the ANC seek to distance itself when the evidence, according to the witness at least, is that the ANC, some of what was being done was done on behalf of the party?
You are a assistant journalist. We have been to a number of events of the ANC, including Siangobas. I'm sure you know better about. I don't want to lead testimony on behalf of the mentioned name. We were in Durban. I think some of your colleagues were in Durban. You know that we did not offer any catering in such a big rally of 100,000 of people in Durban and a number of other meetings, which I think the people implicated would themselves indicate whether what they did allegedly they would have done on behalf of the ANC.
We know that water and food is served in certain instances in ANC.
No, I'll tell you what happens now in the African National Congress is that when we expect people to travel, the provinces, for example, in this case of Limpopo, when people left at 12 midnight for KwaZulu-Natal, they were provided for by the province. It had nothing to do with national. That's what the regions will do. So if in this instance, these are the details that sometimes I cannot explain as the African National Congress, it will be the individual, because I don't want to lead evidence whether to provide an alternative version already before a person implicated is given that opportunity.
And you're quite right. So in assuming then, or wearing if we were to assume that Nomvula Mokonyane was acting in her capacity as a leader of the ANC in the Gauteng province, could that be a plausible argument?
What the African National Congress have always said, where individual actions are implicated in this regard, individuals must come and explain their role in terms of their names being mentioned in whatever wrongdoing. When the issue has to do with the African National Congress, as we have indicated, through the now the chairperson and the former secretary, we are also coming later in, given the schedule of the commission, to explain the issues about exactly the question I made earlier. Our interface, the nexus between the party and the state, the president will come later to explain our role as a governing party since 1994.
All right, Zizi, we are out of time, but on the statement that individuals must come and answer for what they did, does that go the same for the president who received for his campaign 500,000 rand?
The issue was made quite very clear that the money, the president did not benefit personally. And it's important to understand it in context. That's why if you read the statement, you'll understand that the money was received by those who campaigned without even knowing, because in the campaign...
Has he paid it back?
The campaigners, those who are responsible, they will tell and report to you at an appropriate time whether they've paid back the money.
Natasha, very quickly, we're out of time.
If there's nothing to hide, Judge Londo is here. He wants to hear the story. There's absolutely no reason that President Ramaphosa shouldn't come and explain why he got 500,000 rand for his campaign from Bosasa.
All right. Thank you very much to the two of you. That's Natasha Mazzone. She is the spokesperson of the DA on the State Capture Commission. And, of course, we have Zizi Godwa, who is the acting national spokesperson of the ANC. Kathy, we'll leave it here for the time being.